What is cybersecurity? Why should I care about it? That seems like a problem for adults. These are most likely the questions and thoughts you have in your mind right now. But I'm here to explain a very complicated topic in a hopefully very easy to understand way. So let's start with the basics. What is cybersecurity? Put simply, cybersecurity is the protection of your online data from being illegally accessed and sold. You've probably seen text messages like this coming from Venmo, PayPal, or your bank, and you've probably seen Instagram posts like this. These are examples of the main problem I'm going to talk to you about today, cyber attacks. Now, raise your hand if this is what you picture when you imagine a hacker. This is the type of hacker seen in movies and TV shows, where they're bringing down a whole system, and a lot of consequences are going to occur unless the main character saves the day. But in reality, hackers can be anyone, and it doesn't take too much experience to hack things. Now I'm going to talk to you about 3 different types of cyber attacks, the first of which is phishing attacks. Phishing attacks are like the text message I showed you earlier, where you're sent an email or text with a link in it. And when you click on the link and log in, that link has led you to a fraudulent website, which means you've given those details to the hacker. And the hacker can use them to now log into the real account, pretending to be you. Our school is not immune to these types of attacks, and you've probably seen emails like this, and this one as well, in your inbox throughout the school year, and even in the summer before the year started. The main thing to note with these types of attacks is to not click on the link, even if you know the person who sent it to you. Always double check with the person to make sure that they did actually send you the link. The next type of attack is malware attacks. And this is when malicious software is downloaded onto your device and it gives control of your device to hackers. These were prevalent during the initial 2020 quarantine period when people didn't know what COVID was. Hackers preyed on that vulnerability by creating these documents that had information about COVID, but they also had the malicious software embedded into it, which means that when they sent the document to people and they opened it, that malicious software was downloaded onto their device, and it gave control of their device to hackers. The third type of attack is ransomware attacks. And this is when an organization is locked out of their data, and they need to pay a ransom in order to get it back. A ransom is a high amount of money that they have to pay in a short amount of time. And if they don't pay it, the hacker will either permanently delete the data, release it to the public, or sell it on the dark web. These attacks are becoming more frequent, with a 66% rise in 2021. And while attacks like this have been shown in TV shows like Grey's Anatomy and The Good Doctor, in reality, there are still very real repercussions of cyber attacks in the medical industry. Now, I know all of you have been to the doctor, and when you go, you have to fill out paperwork. So raise your hand if you don't really read the paperwork and you just sign it. Most people are like you. They don't read the paperwork, just like most people don't read the terms and conditions when they sign up for a new app or service. It's a lot of legal words to cover the organization. But the problem with not reading medical paperwork is that it often contains information on the privacy of your patient data. Your patient data is information like your full name, your social security number, your address, your date of birth, and your whole health history. If you've ever broken a bone or had surgery, all of that information is part of your patient data. And it's very personal and private, so you don't want people to have access to it. But the process by which that data gets sent to the cloud server is vulnerable to cyber attacks. There's also a problem with medical devices, because these devices run on a legacy security system. And a brain device was researched, and it was found that the brain device is supposed to be embedded to send shocks to your brain to help regulate brain function. But it was found that if the voltage of the shock was increased, it could literally fry your brain, or it could be decreased and you would die. I know that's a really blunt way of putting it, but you have to understand how serious the consequences of cyber attacks are. And maybe you're thinking that this doesn't relate to you right now, but let's talk about something you might find more familiar. Smart devices are everywhere in today's society, and they include things like your Amazon Alexa, your Roomba, your Google thermostat, or controlling your appliances from your phone. But these devices don't have a very sophisticated security system, which means they're vulnerable to cyber attacks. Simply Safe is a DIY home security system where you're sent cameras and monitors to set up around your house. And when the alarm is set, if something triggers the monitors, SimpliSafe will call the police, just like any other normal alarm company. The problem with SimpliSafe, though, is that its devices operate on the same frequency, and that frequency can be easily accessed with the radio. So all a person would need to do is make an interference on that frequency, and it would render all of SimpliSafe's devices useless. It would allow someone to enter your home without you ever knowing. I know it seems convenient to use smart devices, but you have to ask yourself whether the convenience outweighs the risks. Now, at this point, I hope I've emphasized how serious the consequences of cyber attacks are. And you're probably thinking, what can we do to enhance cybersecurity? Well, there are two main ways. The first of which is through using artificial intelligence, otherwise known as AI. AI is something you've all interacted with if you've ever asked Siri or Alexa a question. In cybersecurity, AI can be used to detect cyber threats before they occur, which can save companies money and resources. And in the aftermath of an attack, AI can be used to predict how the attack happened and prevent it from happening that way again. AI can also detect botnets. Botnets are devices that have all been affected with malware, and they're all connected. AI can detect these botnets, prevent more devices from getting infected, and prevent data leakage from these devices. AI can also process much more data and adapt quicker to change than humans can. And it can also detect phishing emails more reliably than we can. But despite these benefits to AI, it cannot be our only solution, because it's difficult and complicated to fight technology problems with more technology. Instead, AI should be used in conjunction with education. Let me explain what I mean by that. Research has shown that simply educating people about cyber attacks and how to avoid falling victim to them can lead to a reduced number of cyber attacks. All it takes is listening to someone talk for 10 minutes and understanding what they're saying. Last semester, I got the opportunity to create an education campaign with the intent of helping young middle school students differentiate between phishing and authentic emails. I presented the campaign at 2 different schools, and it was successful. Over half of the students improved on their ability to differentiate after my presentation. Educating humans about simple cyber attacks like phishing attacks is a necessary solution, and together, education and AI can be used to enhance cybersecurity. Now, I know I've thrown a lot of information at you in this small amount of time, but the important thing to note is that being aware of this is useful, and you're not alone. We live in a world where technology is ever evolving, but if we each do our part to exercise digital literacy and responsibility, then we're helping to improve cybersecurity. So just remember, you can do this. You, who might feel like it's not your place, can do something about improving cybersecurity. You, who might think it's not your duty to care, have to care. Everyone is affected by cyber attacks, but the good news is that everyone can do something to improve cybersecurity. Thank you.